If you feel like, oh, this person has made my daughter better or my son better because they're encouraging them to stay in school, that she's not failing anymore, they're not failing, then maybe this kid is good. But at the same time, it's important to put limitations.
But it's a different generation.
Yes.
And we need to kind of be more open to having these conversations that are not comfortable.
Right.
Welcome, families, to Beyond the Classroom. We're very excited that you joined us today. And in honor of February Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, we're going to go ahead and have a special guest today from the YWCA. I'm going to allow her some time to introduce herself. But again, thank you for joining us, and we're very excited to get this topic out and bring awareness to it, because there's not enough awareness that happens to it. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you to Gabby Rodriguez from the YWCA, and I'm going to allow her some time to introduce herself. So thank you for joining us, Gabby.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Again, my name is Gabby Rodriguez, and I am from the YWCA of Greater Los Angeles, and I am the case manager for the local rape crisis center here for Linwood and surrounding cities. And so we've been around for over 30 years as a rape crisis center, and in the field I've been involved for, I would say, about 20 years. And it's something that I fell in love with and continue to enjoy, and wanting to spread education to our communities, to our students, and to our staff about the importance of teen dating violence, and what are the signs, and where the teenagers in our lives can seek help and get that guidance that they need.
And what does the YWCA stand for?
So the YWCA is for Young Women's Christian Association, and so it's the opposite of the YMCA, which is also Young Men's Christian Association. And so the YWCA was created for services for women and families, women and children, either with needing child care, learning a skill for their workforce. And so the YWCA has been around for over 100 years. And so each YWCA that you may encounter provides a different type of service to that community. And so for the YWCA of Greater Los Angeles, we specifically service anyone that will need child development centers, anyone with seniors in their life that, say, let's take grandma or grandpa for a walk, and put them in a program that can help them either learn how to sew, draw, field trips, and then they also get healthy meals. And so the Child Development Center, they provide services for anyone from 0 to 5. And so each YWCA in Los Angeles provides different age group. We have one in San Fernando that is strictly for the teen parents. And so we also have one in East LA that provides 0 to 5 years old. And then the child development location in my office in Compton, it's 3 to 5. So it's just, each program is a YWCA, but they tailored to the community that they live in and work in, and what their needs are. So they also do have teen programs at several YWCAs, and so we are, expanding to what that community needs at the moment.
Thank you. And we're very grateful for you guys, because over the last at least 5 years, you've partnered through our health collaborative.
Yes.
And you come and do workshops to our teens, to our parents, to our staff on healthy relationships and different topics that are very important for our students, because we want to make sure our students are healthy and safe. So we want to thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
So again, thank you for joining us in this podcast. And the purpose of this podcast is to bring resources to our families.
Yes.
That way they have, a lot of families aren't able to make the workshops in their school sites.
Yes.
So we wanted to bring this to them. And this topic is really important. And February being Teen Dating Awareness Month, Violence Awareness Month, we wanted to bring this podcast out on this date, on this month, to bring awareness to a topic that we hardly talk about.
Right.
In doing some research, I found that in the United States, 1 in 3 couples that date that are teenagers, about 1.5 million, are involved in an unhealthy relationship.
Yes.
And that's very disturbing.
It is, because it's a very high number. If we're talking about, if you're an administrator at a high school or even a middle school that look a little different now than how middle school looked for me, you can see that these kids are like getting together, and there's a lot of couples on campus, and it's like I mean, when I go onto campus, when I do my presentations with the teens, I walk in through the campus and I'm looking like, oh, there goes one couple, there goes another couple, and it's like you turn left and right. There's a lot of couples who may be in relationships that they want to be in, but are not necessarily healthy, or they may not know that it's not healthy because this is something that they've known, and that's something that history has created for us. In kindergarten, first, second, third grade, it's like, oh, Maria hit me, oh, because she likes you. And Jose pushed me. Oh, he only pushed you because he likes you. That's how boys are. That's how girls are. And so we've established that type of mentality growing up as children. And if we stop doing that, like if my son comes to me and says, Mommy, Maria hit me, then I'm going to go have a conversation with the teacher. I'm not going to be like, well, because she likes you. That's what girls do. And so being able to have that ability to tell my child that this is not normal. For me, it wasn't like that. It was like, oh, so-and-so hit you. That means they like you. And the more jealous you are, the better they are, and the more they're in love with you. And so the kids they see something so similar to that now that it hasn't really changed much of the mentality when they are in a relationship. And sometimes it's confusing and not knowing what is healthy and unhealthy for them.
Another thing that I found interesting, and I maybe you can talk a little bit about it, is that now it's younger.
Yes.
Like before, where we used to see it more in high school, now it's starting at 11, at 12, at 13 years old.
And it is starting younger. It's something that I feel has a lot to do with the time spent at home and the time spent outside of the home, and who we may be hanging out with and who we're not hanging out with. So I feel like social media has a lot to do with that, with how fast our kids are growing. Not social media can be a burden, but also can be a blessing. And sometimes it's more of a burden to our teenagers because they see couples on TV, they see families growing up, and the encouraging of, why don't you have a boyfriend? A lot of the TV shows that are put out there for our kids to watch is like, oh, so-and-so likes you. Well, how do I get them to fall in love with me? And then, get them to follow me and take pictures with me. And so it's a lot of what we see on screen, either on phone, tablets, or TV, that I feel like are pushing the kids more into doing something that they normally wouldn't have even thought of. At 11 and 12, your only concern should be going to school and maybe playing a sport or whatever it may be. But sometimes our environment is different. If by 12 you don't have a girlfriend, then what's wrong with you? Wow. If by 12 you don't have a boyfriend, then what do I have to do to make you pretty? And so it's just, something that it's very common. Over this past summer, my daughter was watching this show as The Summer I Got Pretty or something like that. And I was like, oh, I'm sitting watching with her. And the only difference that this young girl had was that they removed her glasses, her braces, and she lost some weight. And so I'm going, is that what made her pretty? Like, is this what we're still doing on TV to enhance what be pretty is supposed to be? Yeah. And so watching that and me having the conversation with my daughter, it's like, oh, wow. So if you lose weight, you think you'll be prettier, or anything like that. And, I was having conversations with my nieces and even the students at high school. It's like I tell them the same thing. Like, I was watching this show and it's like, 5 of you guys are wearing braces. Do you think you're not pretty?
Right.
And so what they're watching has, I feel like, a lot to do with how their self-esteem starts to develop at 11, 12, and 13.
Absolutely. So. And let's say that, and this is a question that I always hear from parents, and it's a really hard, for me, I know how to answer it, but that's just my own personal experience and belief. But how old should my child be when they want to start dating? Like, let's say my parent, that's a hard one.
Yeah. It is a tough one, but when parents ask me, it's like, how old should I let her go out with a boyfriend or start dating or talking on the phone or whatever? It's, your child. Yeah. You know what you have at home. If you feel like your child is responsible enough to be able to make decisions, great. Then you have your child decide, do you think you're ready to add this to your plate? You go to school, you have homework, sometimes you wash the dishes, sometimes you don't. Some kids have jobs. Some kids, their job is to babysit or do household chores. And so it's like, do you have time to add this on your plate? Do you feel like your child is capable? And I always say, like, I'd rather have my children date now in high school middle school, high school, because then if they are mood swings or changes in their style or their personality, I'm able to say, hey, since you've been with this person, you have changed like this. Is this something that is okay with you? You know, if you feel like, oh, this person has made my daughter better or my son better because they're encouraging them to stay in school, that she's not failing anymore, they're not failing, then maybe this kid is good. But at the same time, it's important to put limitations.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, now my son is 17, he can have a girlfriend. That means he gets to take the car, now he has money, he can come whenever he wants. No, you know, there's limitations to everything. And this is something that my parents did for me. I was, I don't know, 21, 22, and I still had to ask, can I go out? And then I still had a curfew depending where I was going. If it was a club, I had to be home by 2. If it was like a quinceañera or a wedding, I had to be home by 12:30 because it's over at 12. What are you doing after, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think it's each parent putting that limitation and responsibility on the child. Okay,
Yeah.
you want a boyfriend? You know, how do you feel like you need to, you know, where are you going to find the time and how are you going to fit it in for you?
Yes.
You know?
And I think one of the things that we see, and just because we hear a lot of cases that come to our district that later we need to help with resources for different
Yes.
other things that happen with that. But I feel like sometimes when, let's say they are 17 and they start dating, they become part of the family right away.
Yes, yes.
And I see that becomes a problem because as the kids are dating, they're not only dating themselves, but they're dating the family.
Yes.
So if anything goes wrong where they want to, like, let's say break up, it's harder.
Yes. Yes.
Or you have the influences of other people. So have you seen some of that?
I've seen it. I've seen it personally. And it's something that I always question, like, you know, would my dad allow me to bring my boyfriend and hang out from like 8 in the morning until 8 at night? No way. Like, there's no way my dad would have allowed it or my mom would have allowed it. Would I allow it for my kid? No. You know, it's understanding that, yes, Jose is a good kid. Like, he doesn't do anything bad. He comes here, he picks up his plate, he even asks to wash the dishes, you know, and he's a really good kid, and he just sits there and watch movies, and he even plays with the little sister and the little brother, and they walk the dog, and everything is all in one package. Yes, Jose is the greatest, but what Jose is doing at your house, he may not be doing in his own house. You know, it's like, why are you here 24/7 and why can't you go home? You know, why are you choosing just, well, you know, sometimes it's the dad. Well, if you want the boyfriend, he needs to come here. Okay, I understand that, but there's got to be limitations, you know. And breaking up is 10 times harder when dad loves Jose because Jose helped put up the Christmas lights. Jose helped trim the tree. Jose cut the grass, you know. And so it's harder and it becomes intertwined to where, like, now Maria no longer wants to be with Jose because, he's spending time with my dad and not with me. But how am I going to tell Jose? And, you know, and sometimes Jose is so intertwined. It's like, oh, so you're breaking up with me? You better tell your dad because you know he's not going to be happy about it. Well, that's very unhealthy because it's not up to the dad. It's up to the person in the relationship.
Yeah.
You know. So, and it goes both ways. Girls do it too. You know, I've
Yeah.
seen it to where the girl is like always at the, you know, the house. And I'm just like, wow, you know, do we not have a job? Do we not,
Yes.
you know, need to go do some laundry? Like, what's happening here? And so then I also be like, well, where's your parent? You know, like, do they not miss you at home? You know, like, so again, it's not always the parents' fault because a lot of people, well, where's the dad? Where's the mom? Well, no, the reality is that they're giving you permission to go somewhere. It's what you're telling your parent to stay longer. And we don't know that. And so
Right.
sometimes we're like, well, where's the dad? Where's the mom? It's like, no, let's have a conversation. Let me call your mom and let her know you're still here if it's okay with her.
Yes.
And then the kids are like, oh no, like, I got to go home now, you know. And so we really don't know the backstory of why they're there for this whole time, but it does intertwine with making it harder to let go of someone because they're so knee deep in the family.
Wow. So let's say now a couple's dating, they're 17, 16, 17, 18, they're dating, and let's say the relationship has gone to a place that is not healthy anymore. So what are some of the early warning signs that as a parent or as a guardian or aunt, uncle, whatever,
Right.
if you see some of these early warning signs, what do they look like?
So, you know, it's a lot of, you know, and I go back to, you know, your child, you know, and I know my nieces and my nephews and, you know, I get along and we are great, but you start to notice little things. So one of the things that I could tell you, my daughter was going through a phase at school in middle school and she was wearing her cute clothes, whatever. And all of a sudden it was like, hoodies nonstop. It was headphones 24/7. It was on the phone 24/7. And I was like, well, that's not her normal self. Like, what's going on? And so I start to question, like, again, another hoodie, like. And it wasn't just like your regular hoodie. She was like, kids start walking around, and if you notice your child start like covering themselves. And the hoodie is normal because kids nowadays wear hoodies at 100-degree weather.
Right.
Never understood that. But, they're kids.
Yeah.
But it's like when you start to notice, it's like now they're more closed up. Their body starts to change. If your kid is normally walking around straight and all of a sudden their shoulders hunch over, or their look starts to look more sad, more, lonely. And we can pick up on those signs because we know our children. And the people, our guardians, our uncles and stuff pick up on those signs. And they'll say, hey, what's going on? Oh, nothing. And we automatically answer for them. School, huh? School stressing you out. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. And we shoo them away. And we really don't have them answer what's wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of the times I feel like we're scared to ask what's wrong because as an adult, we may not know what to do.
Right.
If you were to tell me, if I'm not in this field for as long as I have been, and you said, hey, Gabby, what do I tell my daughter if I feel like she's in an unhealthy relationship? I don't know, would have been my response. But I am in this field, and I'm just like, check up on her. Go through their phone, Yes, privacy, I understand that, but at the end of the day, you going over their phone is making sure that your child is okay. I tell my son, I was like, I'm going to go through your phone. I don't care what you talk about with your friends. You guys are guys, whatever, I get it. I'm just looking for specific language or specific images or something that is going to say, oh, red flag, and this is not healthy, and that's something I tell the parents. I love to gossip, but when it comes to my kids' safety, I'm going to say, look, let me look through your phone. I just want to make sure everything's, A, B, and C, how it should be, and if I don't like something, then we'll have a conversation. Don't be like, oh, so Jose told Maria this, and now no, that's not your business.
Right.
That's their conversations. That's not my business to be a snoop in their phone that way. My business is to make sure that everything in there is where it's supposed to be, and so a lot of times as parents, we're even scared to do that, because we don't want to know what are they looking at? And sometimes it's stuff that they shouldn't be looking at,
Right.
And so it's like, should we have that conversation? At what age should we have that conversation?
Yeah.
And it's where you start to pick up those signs. The kids start to become distant more time in their room. They start to be more aggressive or, with their siblings or even with you as a parent. I told you, more attitude. Teenagers have attitude, but there's a point to them. And so when they start to pick up more attitude, they start to be more sad, their eating habits change, their dressing changes, all of those little things that we know we are watching changing in them. It's okay to be afraid to ask these questions because maybe you and your child are in the same place. Your child is scared, you're scared, so let's have that conversation. Be like, hey, I noticed this, it's okay if you don't want to tell me, but I want to let you know that I'm noticing these things and I'm concerned. And then you put a little seed in their head like, oh, shoot, my mom is noticing, or my dad is noticing, or my cousin or somebody. And then the kids start to be like, oh, wow, and then that's where you slowly start the conversation, And it's hard because some parents are like, oh, I'm noticing, and we're more aggressive. And I get it. I'm a parent too. Right now I sound nice and sweet, but I have kids. And if you talk to them, they'll know I'm yelling and being aggressive, but at the same time, I also know, okay, this is how I talk to one child. This is how I talk to my other child. And this is how I talk to my other child. I don't talk to my kids the same way because they understand differently.
And that was actually my next question. Like, there's so many different personalities within your children. Like, it's not a one solution for everybody.
No, I wish it was, and I'm sure all parents, we all wish it was. But I wish I could talk to my 17-year-old, and he understands everything. And then to my 15-year-old, I could say the exact same thing, and she'll question it. She'll be like, why? And what if I do it like this? And I'm just like, just in my mind, just do what your brother did. We'll be fine. But it doesn't work that way, And so every child we have is different and their personalities are different. We just have to approach them how best their personality fits and where we know they understand what we're trying to tell them.
And how do we adapt as parents? Like, we talk about how we were raised very different and how, we didn't question anything.
No,
really.
No.
We did what we were told,
Yes.
and that's what it was, but it's a different generation.
Yes.
And we need to kind of be more open to having these conversations that are not comfortable.
Right.
So what would you tell a parent? Like, how do we become open to these types of conversations?
I think what has worked for me, and I feel like it can work for a lot of parents, is living in your kids' world. You know, listening to their music, as bad as it may be. Listen to their music. You know, because whatever they're hearing and they're coming out of their sound box is what they're picking up. You know, and being able to question what they're listening to. You know, like when I was growing up, I couldn't listen to any English music, you know, and when my dad allowed us or kind of gradually let us listen to country music, I was like, cool. And then this country song, The Devil Went Down to Georgia, has one bad word at the very end of the song, and my dad was livid, you know, and I was like, oh my God, I can never listen to bad words. So growing up, I never knew like what English music was really out there. And now that my kids, like, they're in love with rap music, you know, and it's rap, 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 and I don't understand a word they're saying, but I sit and listen, and I'm just like, And one day, you know, even when I do presentations with the teens at the high schools, I'll play a song, you know, and they're all into it and dancing and singing the song. And I'm like, okay, well, how many times did this artist say the word be, you know? And they're talking to you. They're not talking to me. They're talking to you. You're allowing this type of vocabulary and language to sit in with you and normalize it. And, you know, and it's just like, no, you say B just for fun. Yeah, but if when it comes to friendships, you know, if I call you a B and we're supposed to be friends and you're in a bad mood, you're going to get mad. So why can't I just call you by your name? You know, and eliminate that language that can cause some type of problems, you know, and telling the parents, live in their world, ask them what they're looking at online, you know, lay with them. If your child comes, look, social media, blah, blah, whatever videos, they may be dumb videos to you. Again, we're adults, we're busy, we have lots of things to do. We could care less about the cat playing with the ball, but they're interested in it. You know, and sit and for 15 minutes, just lay with them, be in their little world, listen to their music, question, like, oh, do you think it's okay that he's calling your sister this? Because, you know, that's what he's saying, or, you know, blah, blah. And then you start the conversation that way. Because kids don't think we're listening. We are, but we're just not questioning it.
Right.
So.
And you know what I noticed, I don't know if you've noticed this, that, and I hear many parents saying that as the kids get older, we think they need us less, but they actually need us more.
Yep.
And we think they're more independent, but when in reality, like, we need to be more involved.
Yeah, and it's a different need. You know, my 9-year-old need is not the same as my 17-year-old need. You know, and so my 9-year-old, come watch cartoons with me. Okay, I'll lay with you for a little bit. And then I have to go and sit next to my 17-year-old. I go and I say, can I sit next to you? We good? And we'll sit and have conversation. Our little ones need us there physically to protect them. Don't cross the street. Watch your bike, you know, scooter, whatever it may be. We're protecting them physically. Our older kids, we need to start protecting them mentally so that they know that they can come to us, you know, that we are that safe place for them, you know, whatever it may be, you know. And I tell parents all the time when I do presentations, it's like, when you buy your child a new pencil and they break it, how do we react? And a lot of the times it's like, I'm yelling at them. Why aren't they responsible? They should have known better. Okay, but he's 7. How are we teaching them to be responsible? So now as a young 7-year-old, breaking a pencil was a big deal. Now could you imagine if he accidentally hit somebody at school and now he's in trouble?
Right.
The fear that he's thinking that when I was 7, they yelled at me for a pencil. Now what am I going to get after I accidentally hit somebody, or I got in a fight with somebody, or I said something I shouldn't have? So putting in that fear. You know, I always tell my kids, fear me. They don't fear me. Like, I walk around, pretend I'm going to slap them, they just stand there. And I'm just like, you guys don't fear me. But the reality is, it's like, how do we react to the most little things that our children do impacts them as they get older. And that's how we think, like, well, they don't need us, blah, blah, blah. But our little ones need us physically, you know. They do. They hug and protection. Our older ones need our safety net, our safety, mental health component of us. Yes, I still love you. Yes, you're 17. You're still my baby. Talk to me. They need that aspect of protection and more than a physical one, because they know how to cross the street. They may not know how to tell you, hey, my girlfriend broke my heart. And we're over here saying, why are you crying? Why are you all sad? Blah, blah, blah. You know, totally stepping on them when they're already
Guilty.
broken. Right.
Guilty.
Yes.
I'm guilty of that. It's
Yeah,
hard.
it's
It's hard
hard.
to transition the
Yeah.
mindset, but it's doable.
Yes,
I think
100%.
I think the more we learn as parents, the knowledgeable we become,
Yeah.
the more open we become to changing it. And it's not too late.
No, no.
It's never too late to fix that relationship
right.
so your kids can know I'm here for you.
Yeah, and it's all about communication, because if a parent has taken my class, or even the teens that I go to, I tell them, look, go home and say, Mom, this is what I learned today. This is the one new thing I learned today. And if it's about 1 in 3 kids are in a teen unhealthy relationship, and then you tell your mom, this is what I learned today. That's how you start conversation. It's a little thing. It's not big. And then mom will be like, well, what does that mean? And then you'll say, well, this lady told me the X, Y, and Z. And your mom's gonna be like, what? Who's this lady? And then you start having this conversation. Because it's important for us to do that. And for us as parents is, I think if there's a partnership in a home where there's a mom or a dad or parents in the home, you go to that partner. This lady came to the school today, and this is what she taught us. What do you think? Because if you are on the same team as your partner, when it comes to the children, it's gonna flow a lot easier.
Yes.
You're going to get your setbacks, right? Like you're going to kids and I'm like, I don't care, blah, blah. But you're working as a team.
Yes.
So I always tell my moms, because usually moms in my workshop, I say, go home, talk to your partner, tell them this is what you learned, and ask them what they think about it. Because chances are they don't have time to think about anything, because one, they're working, they're tired, whatever it may be. But if you put a little, bedtime conversation, pillow talk, say, this is what I learned today. Some lady said that, teenagers are more prone to suicide.
Yes.
Because they've been in an unhealthy relationship. What do you think? And you start talking about maybe your own kids' relationships. Like, oh, have you noticed Maria and Jose, they're not talking, or whatever it may be. And so bringing it in to the home slowly is a lot better than say, oh, changes are coming. And no, it doesn't work that way. You have to have that conversation of being able to have that. Be okay with your own beliefs as well.
Yes, and it's really hard when, especially with your first child, that starts dating, that you kind of don't see it coming.
No.
So it's good to know and learn and just kind of be prepared, so when it does happen, you're more open to listening.
Yes.
So being aware, having open communication. That communication is really powerful.
Yeah, and you hear it all the time. Communication is better. Yes, it is. But how are we communicating this to the kids, I started a series at Fireball almost a year or so ago, and we talked about healthy relationships, what that looks like among friends, amongst family, and intimate, And one of the things that all the kids always said they wanted in a relationship was respect. And it was a huge, and I was like, well, what does that look like for you? How does that feel like for you? It's good. It's easy to say, I want respect, trust and respect. Okay, but what does that look like for you? How does respect, where have you been, where have you seen someone give respect to each other in a relationship? And some kids are like, oh, my dad always tells my mom this is what's happening. And my mom's like, okay, let's do it like this. And they respect each other's decisions. And some kids are like, well, that's not how it is at my house. It's totally opposite. My dad's yelling at my mom, and my mom's like, she could care less about my dad. And so it's like building that foundation at home is already established because you've been there forever, since you were born, but bringing that into a friendship could look different, could look different in an intimate relationship. So when they say, I want respect, it's like, okay, how do you respect your friend? You listen to them. You keep their secrets, no matter how good the juicy gossip is, you got to keep it. You can't tell anybody, and they're like, well, that's hard, and I'm like, yeah, it's hard, but that's how you learned. That's how you learn what respect is.
Yes.
Being able, you're respecting your friend, and your friend is going to respect you for not saying anything, and so it slowly but surely comes around. So, yeah.
Okay, so another difficult question. Let's say that I'm a parent and I do see some signs of an unhealthy relationship, maybe some abuse, but I'm not that certain because I know that my daughter, let's say, is in love with her boyfriend. Like, what do I do? Like, what do I do as a parent?
It's tough, because you, as a parent, you're like, oh, first boyfriend, first
Yes.
girlfriend, and everything's great, but you start to pick up signs, and if you don't know what to do, I always tell the kids and the parents, reach out to your local person that you trust. It could be a comadre, it could be the neighbor, it could be, someone in your religious circle, even at the school, the kids' counselors. Yes, they have a lot of work, I understand, but they're there for a reason. It's like to express your concerns is your number one priority. And so it's important to say, okay, I need to talk to Miss Garcia. This is what's going on. It's her first boyfriend, but I feel like he's taking her away from me, or I feel like, she's not spending enough time at home. Whatever her concerns may be, reach out to someone who can help you. If that person can't help you, say you go to Miss Garcia. Miss Garcia's like, don't worry about it. That's how kids are. And fine. Say, thank you, Miss Garcia. You didn't like that response, didn't make you feel comfortable, didn't make you feel like they answered your question, you reach out to someone else until someone can help you. And the number one thing is make your concerns vocal to your child.
Okay.
Maria may say, and I always use Jose and Maria. I tell my kids, I always use Jose and Maria, so it's nobody against Jose and Maria. I said, express your concerns to your child. Hey, I've kind of noticed, this is going on. You seem a little quiet. You don't look as happy when he calls or texts you. Is everything okay? And share an experience you've had with a past relationship. It's like, I remember when I was dating, and I didn't like it when he used to not call me, or, and I didn't like that feeling. And that opens up a little door for your child to say, my mom was in a relationship before my dad. Or if dad was the only one, then be like, yeah, your dad used to do the same thing. And I had to tell him, this is what I like and this is what I don't like, And it's always giving your own personal experiences to help open that door. To say, I'm still human. I'm not just your mom. I'm also a human being. I was human before you came along, and so I still have experiences that I have to deal with, or I could share with you that maybe can help us connect, And a lot of the times the kids sit there and they go, oh, yeah. And I go, your parents are full of knowledge. It's just we don't like to talk to our parents because they're old and they don't know what we're going through. And I tell them, I say, we didn't have social media. I didn't have social media growing up. So could you imagine my kids with social media and I'm trying to navigate that? And they're like, but you have social media now. And I said, yeah, I had to learn it.
Yes.
Your parents had to learn Facebook and Instagram, and some parents have Snapchat, which I think is very commendable. But, it's just, though, we still have to learn, and giving them a little example. And I tell the teens all the time, I say, you can go up to someone and say, I have a friend who might be going through this, and you give an example, and whoever you're telling the story to knows exactly where to send you because you're asking that question. Mm-hmm. You're opening yourself to something that you didn't know you could get help for. Mm-hmm. And it's always, I have a friend, I'm calling for someone I know, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. Because you're getting that information either for your friend or specifically for you, and you're getting that information, and not being, I know it's easy for me to say, don't be afraid to ask your kids questions. I'm still afraid to ask my kid questions because I'm afraid whatever they're going to tell me, I'm not going to like, but that's not for me to, put upon them.
Right.
It's their own feelings, their own thoughts, and I tell the kids, and they always bring up like, my mom thinks it's mean that my boyfriend, is always texting me. And I was like, yeah, there's no need for your boyfriend to text you. What if you have to wash dishes? And I tell them, everybody has a schedule after school.
Yes.
Everybody has a schedule. Some of you go home and watch Little Brothers and Sisters. Some of you go home to work. Some of you guys go home, start making dinner. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a different schedule. Now imagine you have an intimate partner who wants you 24/7. Mm-hmm. Who's going to suffer?
Yes.
And it becomes then a family affair because you weren't there to watch your brothers and sisters because Jose needed you to be wherever he was.
Right. So let's say we move forward a little bit more aggressive, and this is the part that not only does it become like a parent's responsibility to protect the child, but like there's legalities behind this. So now let's say you are 100% sure that your child is involved in an abusive relationship. Let's say that you've seen bruises on your son or daughter, and what's your legal, let's start with legal responsibility, because sometimes when it's legal, it helps parents, you do what you have to do.
Right.
Versus where, it's not legal, so I don't know.
Right.
I don't want them to get mad at me. I don't want them to not talk to me.
Yeah. And for me, it's more of a safety concern than a legal one. You know, a lot of the times when a child comes home with bruises, you know, or I even consider hickeys, you know, physical abuse because it's them marking their territory. You know, so for me, hickeys is not like, oh, so cute. No, it's negative. Like when your child comes home with the hickey, you know, that's essentially considered a bruise, you know. And so I always would question it, like, why is this, you know, something he likes to do? You know, what's the point behind it? You know, and always the safety first, you know. The legal component will come after, but you as a parent need to make sure that your child is safe.
Yes.
You know, and say, hey, what's going on? Nothing's going to happen to you because obviously if you have this bruise, then the person harming you is in the wrong place.
Yeah.
You know, and just, no, it's because I wore lipstick and he doesn't like me wearing lipstick. Wow, okay, is that a problem for him? Okay, then that's his personal problem. Then he shouldn't have been with you because clearly you're wearing lipstick all the time. You know, and so making sure that your child knows that you're going to keep them safe, and then you reaching out to your local law enforcement, you know, because it's very important. Leave aside, well, she's never going to talk to me again. She's never going to trust me again. At the moment, she may not trust you. In a moment, she may not like you or he may not like you, but your only concern as a parent is their safety.
Yes.
You know, and their safety comes first, and then they're yelling and whatever they may do afterwards, it's okay because they're going through the process, but make sure that your child is safe. You know,
Yes.
I know, hey, Maria, I noticed some bruises on your arm. What's going on? If Maria doesn't want to talk, or Jose's like, you know, well, she just likes to leave me hickeys, and I'm talking about hickeys all over the neck and arms and back, and I'm going, that's not love, that's pain. You know, they're causing you pain for what, you know? Yeah. And so safety is the number one, and making sure that you are protecting your child.
Yes.
You know, they're going to get upset, they're going to hurt you, and you're going to cry as a parent because you're trying to do the best for your child. But in reality, the best for your child is make sure that they're safe.
Yes.
And then take that next step to involve law enforcement to be able to make sure that everybody in the parties are getting the help they need. Because it may be normal for Maria to hit Jose because at Maria's house, the mom's always hitting the dad.
Yes.
And, you know, it's no big deal. And a lot of the times we don't like to think about the girl being the aggressor, but they exist.
Yes.
You know, the girl aggressors exist. And so I always tell them, yes, girls, you're not innocent because some of us are like that, you know. And so it's very important for us to say the girls are also aggressors just as boys are, but because boys are not going to call the cops. Boys are not going to go run to their moms and say, oh, Maria slapped me. That's not what's going to happen. The reality is boys are going to tend to stay quiet and continue this abusive relationship because they aren't able to or ready to open up and say, hey, a girl is hitting me. Because again, in society, if a girl hits you and you cry, it's not a great outcome, you know. And so being able to make sure your child is safe first and then step into that legal component.
Good, good. Yes, it's very important. So let's say you're a parent and you already gone through law enforcement. Where can you go for additional support
So
to help you navigate this?
Yeah, so law enforcement will give you a pamphlet. You know, you'll do your police report, whatever it may be, and law enforcement will give you a pamphlet. And then on that pamphlet, you will have DV agencies. There are a lot of local domestic violence agencies that deal with providing services to a teen who's been in a abusive relationship, as well as additional services for the parents to help them understand what their child is going through, and also helping them with their own bias. You know, like, wow, you know, like this is not what I raised, or this is not how I was raised, or this is how I was raised and I turned out fine. And so dealing with our own as parents biases. So agencies provide the wraparound service of what the whole family may need, you know, because it's important. So not only, like for us, not only is a survivor getting services, but, you know, maybe the survivor said, you know, my mom's really going through a hard time. Have your mom give us a call. We can help her through the process. We're never gonna collide in terms of, you know, giving information of what you're doing through therapy, but I know parents need therapy too.
Yes.
You know, and helping them understand, like, why does she cry, or she doesn't even cry, or why is she angry, or why is he angry? And so navigating all those emotions that a survivor may have. And for us, it's like, oh, you know, I hear a lot of the times on TV, it's like, she doesn't even look like anything happened to her. I'm sorry, but there's no cookie cutter on what a survivor looks like. Just like there's no cookie cutter of what a perpetrator may look like. Everybody looks different. And so everybody's traumatic situations come out differently,
Yes.
when it's expressed. Some may cry, some may not. Some may want to be like, okay, let me get it over with, get the help I need so I can get out of this situation. But everybody works different,
Yes.
And so providing that whole family connection to say, hey, mom, she's going through a hard time. Just make sure you're there. He or she needs lots of love and hugs, if they're allowing it, if not, a simple post-it, I'm still here for you, I love you, whatever it may be. And then we work as a team to make sure that the survivor is getting all the support they need in that moment.
That's perfect, because it goes on to my kind of last, and not last, but one of the last questions that I wanted to touch on is, what happens when a victim does not seek the help? Like, what are some of the side effects that you have seen?
Well, some of the common side effects that are known is that there's very either isolated. They become it's more isolation, probably food insecurities, more leaning towards drug and alcoholism. Depending on the situation, they could gear more towards having more sexual partners, to stepping away from any type of sexual life. So they all look different, and if it's a survivor is not ready, if your child or, is anyone is not ready to get the therapy, that's fine, but let them know that you're there. Let them know, like, you're not there to judge. It's like, oh, you're back with him again? No, that's not what they want to hear. They want to know that, hey, you want some coffee? Let's talk about it. What's going on? And talk about something other than what they're afraid to talk about until they're ready. And at the end of every conversation, say you meet every week, if it's an adult relationship and you meet every week for coffee, just be like, talk about anything under the sun. And then at the end, just know that I'm still here for you.
Yes.
Reassure that you are there for them, judgment free. Because it's hard for us to be like, oh, they're, even as kids, are like, oh yeah, tell my friend, why is she back with him? And I'm like, I don't know. You tell me, why do you think she's back with him? And when she tells you, oh, we're back together, what is your response? And she's like, I get mad, and then I'm not talking to her for a week. And I'm like, do you really think your friend needs that? Do you think your friend needs you to ignore her, or do you think your friend needs you to hear her out?
Yes.
And so that's where we start to learn to be good friends, healthy relationships as friends, as opposed to creating this. Well, she's already having problems with her boyfriend or girlfriend, and now here we're adding more to it, and just letting them know, like, it's okay. Let's talk about anything, but I'm still here for you.
Being open-minded.
Be very open-minded about it.
Wow. This was a lot of really good information.
Yes.
We always say it's going to be 20 minutes, but it's such important information. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming. Are there any last thoughts that you want to share with our parent viewers, or just anyone that might be going through something, or know someone that might be going through something?
I just think that for anyone going through any type of domestic violence, or, you're young in high school, relationships are great. They're meant to be fun. They're meant to, make you laugh. Some are meant to make you cry, because breakups are hard. But there's always an adult out there for us, to say, hey, this is what's going on. Even with you start, I have a what if question. What if this? That's okay. You start the conversation out there like that, because it's the best way and you're just trying to figure out how you want to be in a relationship, so. And I tell the boys all the time, we have to be very careful. We have to be very mindful. We want to be in a happy relationship, and not everything we see on social media is real. But the reality is that you have real people in your circle who care and are willing to step up for you.
Is there a number where they can call? Like, does the YMCA have a number?
Oh, yeah, the YWCA, we do have a crisis hotline number.
I'll put it at the end.
Please put it at the end
in our resource page.
I have it saved on my phone, so I don't have it memorized anymore.
It's okay. We have
please,
a resource page that'll go at the end of this video with the YWCA,
Okay.
and we'll put the number there.
Yeah,
And
but it's 24/7. So if you call at 2:00 in the morning, you will have a counselor there available for you.
And there's a local office here in the city.
Yes, your local
Compton.
office is Compton,
California.
Compton, California. So we're literally 4 minutes away from Linwood, the district of Linwood, Linwood High School, Fireball, we're about 8 minutes away,
Okay.
and all your local schools. Yeah.
Perfect. So thank you again for having
thank
us.
you for having me.
I mean, for coming here to be with us.
Yeah.
It was very important information. I'm sure they'll probably see you in some of the schools
Yes.
that you're around.
Yes.
Gabby's around our district, providing important information to all our families. And always remember that there's always resources at all of our campuses. You can go talk to a case manager, a licensed clinical social worker, your school counselor, your site administrator, or even here at the district office. Again, I'm the director of student services. We have coordinators here. We have people all over Linwood Unified to support you. So thank you again for tuning in. Thank you again for coming with us, Gabby, and sharing this important topic. And again, February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. So for the rest of the podcast, we'll have more information on different strategies on how to have healthy and happy relationships. So again, thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a great day.